If you are using Excel to collect input data from other users, data validation is extremely useful. While there are other programs like Google Forms and SurveyMonkey that can do similar things, it's helpful to know how to validate input inside of your Excel spreadsheet. Data validation is used to restrict the type of data or values that can be entered into a cell. Let's give it a try. Let's say we're an office administrator who's in charge of collecting everyone's lunch order. To collect the lunch order effectively, we need a couple of pieces of information. We need the person's name, the time that they want lunch served, their phone number, and their lunch order. On the right side of the table are all of the lunch options being served today. Okay, so without data validation, anyone could enter in anything. Like you could enter your phone number into the name and your name into the phone number. This is where data validation comes into play, because it allows us to restrict the data values that can be entered into each cell. Let's give it a try. For the name, I'm not going to include any data validation because I trust that everyone knows how to enter in their own name. Next, for lunchtime, lunch is not served all hours of the day. We want to restrict the time between 10:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. To do this, let's hover that cell. Go to the Data tab of the ribbon and then choose Data Validation. Your ribbon might look a little bit different, but either way, just look for this icon with the green check mark and the red X mark. Let's go ahead and click it, and the data validation box should pop up. Since we want this to be a time, let's specify time in the drop-down menu. And now it's asking us between which times. So it's going to be between 10:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. Hit enter or click OK, and now our rule is implemented. Let's give it a try to see that it works. If I enter a time inside of the range, like 1 p.m., it works, but if I enter a time outside the range, like 3 p.m., it throws an error. This is exactly the behavior we were looking for, and the error message that's being popped up right now is not that helpful. So we can actually modify this to be a little bit more helpful to the user. So let's customize this error message with this cell highlighted, going to data validation, and then going to error alert. For the title of our error message, let's put something like invalid time. And for the error message, let's put time must be between 10:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. Let's also put an input message in here. Let's put something informative. I don't think I need a title, but let's put a message like lunch is served between 10:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. I'm happy with this, so let's click OK or hit enter and try again. We can see that when we hover the cell, our input message is automatically shown. Let's try it once again, entering a number outside the range, like 3 p.m. But this time it throws an error, but the error message is a lot more helpful. Invalid time. The time must be between 10:45 a.m. and 2 p.m. I like this, so let's move on to the next step. For phone number, our rule is going to be a little more complicated. Let's go ahead and go to data validation once again. Let's choose whole number as our data type. In the United States, phone numbers are 10 digits. Since the lowest number a 10-digit number could be is all ones, let's put that as our first argument. Our minimum is going to be 10 ones. Since the highest number is going to be all nines, let's put that as our upper bound, 10 nines. For our input message, let's put something like enter your phone number, no country code, and no dashes. This way, users will enter it in a way that can be checked by our data validation. Finally, let's go to our error message and say something like phone number is invalid. I like this, so let's click OK, enter in a phone number, a valid 10-digit phone number like 333-333-3333, hit enter, and we can see that Excel accepts it as a valid phone number. Finally, we need to validate the input for the lunch order. We can see on the right-hand side that there are 4 main options that people can choose from. However, without data validation, users can enter in anything, like salad, if they're lazy or don't want to enter in the full name. We can use data validation using our pre-existing list of lunch items to create a drop-down menu. To do this, we once again go to Data, Data Validation. When we click the drop-down, we can see the option to choose data validation from a list. In our source or source list of items, let's choose the list of lunch items that we already have predefined over here. We can see that Excel has already and automatically created and locked these cell references. Creating a data validation drop-down list is truly as easy as this. If we hit OK, we can now hover this cell and use the drop-down menu, and we can choose any of the options that have been predefined for us. This will prevent any further errors in data input. Okay, there's one last thing that I want to show you. This data validation is great, but it has not yet been extended to any of the cells below. If you want to extend it to cells below, first copy the data validation that you want to copy, then highlight the area that you want to paste it to, and then go to Paste, Paste Special, and choose Validation. This will not transfer the values, but rather just the data validation rules that you have predefined. Now we can see the drop-down menu, and all of the other data validation has been moved to these cells as well.